How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast. It's Moses here, and today I'm bringing y'all my full NHL Stanley Cup Playoff breakdown. I'm going to be going series to series, leading up all the way to seeing who will be hoisting Lord Stanley. I'm going to break it down by conference. I'm going to do the whole East first, then jump over to the West, go through the whole West, and then give y'all that Stanley Cup Final prediction. I'm going to be giving game predictions, how many games I think the series will go, winners, obviously, a couple key players, and yeah, it's been an amazing NHL season. I've loved watching, and I'm excited to get to the main course, as some would say. So without further ado, let's jump on into the breakdown. And starting it off in the East, it's going to be the Atlantic Division winners, Florida Panthers. We know what they are capable of after their unbelievable run last year to the Stanley Cup Finals, kind of out of nowhere, knocking off some powerhouses. I believe they were the last team to make it in to the playoffs last year and made it all the way to the final. So if that's any indication of what's to come this playoffs, we will see. But just know that regular season success doesn't really matter, especially when it comes to the NHL and the playoffs. It's a whole different game. Energy is insane. Everything is quick, on the fly. One little mistake can cost you. So Panthers ended the season on a 4-game win streak. And I know goaltending has been a question mark for this team by some, but they have the vet in Sergei Bobrovsky, who won 36 games this season, tied for third in the NHL. And they also have a sneaky backup in Anthony Stolarz, who is leading the NHL currently in save percentage and goals against average. I know it's a smaller sample size as he's their second goaltender, but still a great option to fall back on if Bobrovsky is struggling in this series. And as for the Tampa Bay Lightning, that is something that they do not have. They have Andrei Vasilevsky, who is a great piece to have, but if he's off, I don't trust the second guy to step up for the Lightning. They are 5-4-1 in their last 10 games. And we know what this team is capable of. They've been a dynasty these past few years, winning multiple cups back to back to back. Solid team, top 5. First in NHL in power play percentage, and 5th in the penalty kill. As for Florida, they are 8th in the penalty kill and 8th in power play and 6th on the penalty kill. So two teams who are very solid in the special teams department. This series, I think, is going to be a good one, a back and forth one, but I have the Florida Panthers winning it in 6 games. Moving on to my Boston Bruins facing a familiar foe, an original 6 foe in the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have had an unbelievable season themselves. Austin Matthews leading the NHL with 69 goals this season. Just a unreal season from Matthews. William Nylander also 2 points away from 100 points on the season. So this team, they're top heavy. They got solid guys, but it's going to be a back and forth matchup, especially with the team that they are familiar with. The Bruins choked their Atlantic Division lead to Florida in the last few weeks of the season. 2-game losing streak coming into this, while Toronto is on a 4-game losing streak. Little worried for the Bruins as the way their season ended, 2 poor showings. Great third period in the final game of the year, which is a little bit of a sigh of relief. But playoffs, like I said, whole different game. Regular season success doesn't really matter, even though the Bruins swept Toronto 4-0 in the regular season. None of that matters now. I think that the Bruins have the better goalkeeping tandem in Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark. Last year, it was a little bit of um, a blunder, sorry, on the Bruins in sticking with one of their goaltenders after having the two solid options all year, and it ended up costing them last year in their first round exit. I think Jim Montgomery has realized this and is going to use that wisdom now to make brighter decisions in the goaltending department. I think the Bruins team is going to come out hungry after their disgusting first round exit last year. I know Toronto just won their first playoff series in the last 2 decades last year, which is an unbelievable monkey to get off their back. Both teams definitely going to be hungry, wanting to beat each other as longtime foes. But I'm going to go my team, call me a homer, in 7, knocking off the Toronto Maple Leafs. Jumping down to the President's Trophy winner, New York Rangers, with a all-around unbelievable season. Um, Another team that kills it on the special teams department, third in both power play and penalty kill as a team. Um, they are a top 5 sorry, wrong team. 7-3, 7-3-0 in their last 10 games. Been cruising along this season, and they've had some bright young additions in Matt Rempe, some good pickups at the trade deadline in Bjorkstrand. Or no, sorry, Wenberg. I apologize. Um, this team is a very dangerous threat. Definitely a favorite to win the entire Stanley Cup Finals. As for Washington, a team that snuck in, snagging that last wild card spot in the East by having more regulation wins. A very different look. As for the Washington Capitals, a team that held on to that last wild card spot, beating Detroit by having more regulation wins, which is another topic for another day. But at the end of the day, they made it to the playoffs. Any of these teams can go on a little run and make things happen. Capitals getting older. Ovechkin still doing Ovechkin things. They still kind of have this similar core: TJ Oshie, Tom Wilson, um, and they have a pretty good goaltender in Lindgren, who could steal a game or two in this series. But I'm gonna go the New York Rangers in 5, knocking off the Capitals. As for the last first round game in the Eastern Conference, Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. Um, I'm going to make this one quick. Respect to the New York Islanders. Solid season. Made it to the playoffs. It's unfortunate that you're running into a powerhouse like Carolina. They are looking good, looking hot at the right time. Their goaltending has been better. Every facet of their game has been better in the second half of the season. The Hurricanes, definitely a force to be reckoned with out east, and I have them also winning in 5. So 5 there, 5 for the New York Rangers, 7 for the Boston Bruins, and 6 for the Florida Panthers in the first round. Now, on to the second round. And a familiar foe in the Florida Panthers. The Bruins swept Florida in the regular season, and thankfully so. Still not enough to make up for what happened last year, but now they have a chance to make that happen. Um, Diving into the analysis a little bit here, both teams similar in power play, similar in the penalty kill. Florida slightly better on defense, slightly better on offense, barely, but it shows, man. This was a tight race in the Atlantic. 1-point victory for the Florida Panthers. They have home ice. I think the Bruins steal one. I think they make up for the blunder of last year and reach the conference finals, defeating Florida in 6 games. Jumping on to the New York Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes have beaten the Rangers the past few years in the playoffs in some tight series. Jumping into the analysis here. Very similar all around the board again. Carolina, a little bit more depth. I trust Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick, that 1-2 punch of goaltending. Quick coming kind of unexpectedly on this season. I feel like they signed him to be a solid backup to Igor. And when Igor was struggling to start the first half of the year, Quick kept the Rangers afloat. And he's a huge part of why they won the President's Trophy this year. And I don't see that stopping in the playoffs. I think him and Igor, whenever called on, they're going to perform. And I think they finally get past the Carolina Hurricanes, make it to the conference finals. Face off, I've seen this as a collision course throughout the season. These two teams vying for the top spot in the East, vying for that President's Trophy. The numbers, they definitely favor the Rangers. Better on the penalty kill, better on the power play, slightly more goals per game. Bruins, I trust their defense a little bit more. Even though I just hyped up the Rangers goaltending, I trust our goaltending more, and I trust our coaching decisions more. I'm going to have the Boston Bruins, call me a homer, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. I was there the last time they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, losing to the St. Louis Blues. It's time for get back. Jumping out to the West, starting it off with the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. Dallas 8-2-0 in their last 10 games. Vegas 6-3-1 in their last 10, coming in on a 3-game win streak. We haven't seen this full Vegas Golden Knights team. We haven't seen them in their full potential. Mark Stone, their leader, their captain, been on the long-term IR all season. Coming back, should be ready for the first game of this first round matchup. It worries me a little bit. It's hard to miss out on a lot of the regular season and come back in the playoffs and expect results and performance from a guy. I know he's a vet. I know he's solid, but that's still asking for a lot out of someone who hasn't gotten that game on ice experience yet this year. I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars in 5 to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. This Dallas team is deep. They have guys, youth guys coming in, making impacts. They have, I believe, the better goalie in Jake Ottinger, who we've seen will them to wins in the playoffs in the past few years. And I think he's going to have an amazing Stanley Cup playoff run this year and will Dallas to some needed victories. Jumping on down to the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. Winnipeg is on a 7-game win streak coming into the playoffs. I know the Avalanche are going to be a favorite in this matchup. I know that people have been sleeping on Winnipeg. I'm going to continue that trend. Excuse me. Pardon me. I'm going to continue that trend. Look at the power play numbers for the Avalanche. If they get on, they're going to score. Winnipeg a little bit lacking in that department. Both teams' penalty kill is a little bit more wide open, but I'm trusting McKinnon, McCarr. They have the two best players on the ice in this series in the Avalanche. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck is going to be a challenge to break down in net for Colorado. Winnipeg has a better goalie, but Georgiev has a great year for the Avalanche, and I see them winning this series in 7 games. Jumping on down to the Vancouver Canucks and the Nashville Predators. The Canucks, it's an up and down season, but they had a bunch of all-stars at the all-star break, an amazing first half of the year. In Nashville, with an unbelievable run in the second half of the year. I believe it was like a 16-0-1 stretch for them. Just some absurd run for the Predators to get them into the playoffs in a loaded Western Conference. It was a battle that went on to the last day of the season, figuring out standings and all that. I know Vancouver is going to be the favorite in the series. You could see cleared them in points, cleared them in goals per game, goals against, similar power play numbers, similar penalty kill, but all of these things favor Vancouver. I have the Nashville Predators beating them in 6 games. One of my few major upsets of the NHL playoffs. Jumping on to my last matchup of the first round, the Edmonton Oilers, who this year has been kind of storybook for them. They fire their coach 13 games into the season after an awful start. In the month of January, they didn't lose a game. They went on a 16-game win streak, started in December, ended in February. Just an unbelievable win streak for the Oilers that saved their season, gave them some new life. Chris Knobloch, interim coach, kind of brought the troops together, and kind of makes sense when you got two of the best players in hockey on your team on the ice at the same time, especially on the power play. This is why Edmonton is one of the best power play teams in the league. They score a lot. Their defense and goaltending have always been the question mark, and it has been stronger this year. They have beaten the LA Kings the last 2 years in the first round. But the Kings, they had a similar season, just at different times. They fired their coach in early February after a really rough January, and which was a pretty shocking move to do that late in the season. But they held on, stayed afloat, managed to make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm gonna go with Edmonton Oilers, trusting McDrysaddle to get it done. I have them doing that in 5 games. I had the Nashville Predators in 6. Sorry. Edmonton in 6, Nashville in 6, Avalanche in 7, and Stars in 5. Moving on to the second round in the Western Conference. Dallas versus Colorado. And man, what a series this would be. Two teams with depth, with guys. Like I said in the first round, I think Jake Ottinger has an unbelievable Stanley Cup playoff run and wills this Stars team to numerous key victories. I have the Stars knocking off the Avalanche in 6 games. As for the Nashville Predators and the Edmonton Oilers, I think the magic of the Predators season comes to an end. I think the pace of the Edmonton Oilers and their top guys overpower the Predators, and they beat them in 5 games. Conference finals out west, the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. This series be back and forth, fast-paced, 2 unbelievable teams with 4 games away from the Stanley Cup Final. I'm gonna lean Dallas here to win it in 6. And now the final for Lord Stanley. I know regular season success doesn't matter. The Bruins swept the Stars in 2 games this season. Pretty handedly fashion. Pretty easy fashion. Call me a homer. It's what I'm feeling. I got the Boston Bruins winning the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. It's been an amazing year. I'm excited for the playoffs to start tomorrow. Tune in. If you're not a hockey fan, the playoffs is the best time to tune in, start watching. The energy is so different. Every minute, every shift matters. It's gonna be exciting. Just realized I didn't talk about any key players in this video, but we know who the top guys are on these teams. McDavid, Pastrnak, Matthews, Fox, Panarin, all those guys. Their teams are going to want to make it. They're going to need to perform. And you're going to need the depth to perform as well. So it's going to take a team effort. I'm excited to tune in. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know who you guys got winning it all in the comments. And before I sign off, don't think I forgot. Song of the pod. My song today is going to be one of my favorite rock songs of all time. Song by one of my favorite rock bands of all time. Soundgarden, Burden in My Hand. A classic, beautiful instrumentals throughout, vocals, just an amazing production. And if you haven't heard it, tune in. That's all I got for y'all today, everybody. I appreciate it. Again, let me know who you got in the comments. And I love y'all. And we'll see you next time. Later, everyone.